to episode number 28 of the Redman Group. We've got our Redman light on today. The Avengers have united. I'm going to introduce who's on the panel today. From my left on the bottom of the screen, we've got Anthony Johnson of the 21 Convention, Carl of Black Label Logic, Donovan Sharp of the Sharp Reality, and of course, Rollo Tomasi of the Rational Mail. Yours truly is hosting today, Richard Cooper, Entrepreneurs in Cars. As we usually do, gentlemen, let's do a quick intro to catch up on what we've all been up to lately to let our viewers know. Rollo, I'll throw it off to you first, and I'm going to turn off this light because I'm getting a suntan. Just give me a second here. There we go.
I was going to say, doesn't that stimulate your balls or something like that?
It does, actually. I did an entire video on that shit on my channel.
Well, geez, what's going on right now? Well, first off, the big news is Stefan Molyneux has finally decided to post my interview from back in February, which is great. Thank you, Stefan, for doing that. I had kind of written it off, but I guess enough people sort of lit a fire under his ass to put it out there, and it's getting a really, really great response. I dare say it's gone viral. So if you haven't checked that out, you can look for the link in my Twitter feed, or you can just go to Stefan Molyneux's channel on his YouTube, and you'll find it there. I think it's the most recent one. So anybody wanting to see that, we discussed hypergamy for a bit, but you know, it is Stefan Molyneux, so a lot of it gets into the social and political aspects of red pill kind of stuff. And we talked about masculinity. Remember, this was back in February, so I was kind of fresh on my positive masculinity, my third book. So we were talking about that. So we got into that a little bit, got into hypergamy. And if you're a fan of Stefan Molyneux, this is classic Stefan, so you'll like it. So that was good. I did an interview with Elliot Hulse last Friday. I do not know exactly when he's going to post that. Hopefully we're not running into Stefan Molyneux links, but I think he's going to sit on it for a little while. And I think what he was doing is he's starting a new sort of podcast format for himself. I mean, there's Yo Elliott that he's got, which is where he's just, flying solo the whole time. And then he's starting a new podcast where he's interviewing guys, and I'm one of the first guys that he's interviewed. And I think it was a really great show. I really hope he puts it out soon, because I enjoyed talking to him. It gave me a different perspective on him. And I kind of changed my mind about Elliott. Other than that, I'm still working on the fourth book. Really deep in the weeds on this. And I know that, we have our own side projects, and I know Anthony's really deep in the weeds with the 21 Convention right now, but man, I'm really deep in the weeds with the fourth book. So to the point where I'm sort of sporadically putting blog essays on the Rational Mail. I've got another one coming up that's going to be based really on what we're talking about today. And then also the big news, last week, we hit my blog anniversary, or blogiversary as it's called. And I have been doing the Rational Mail for 7 years now. And so I've got another best of coming up pretty soon on that. And that's about it for now. So
cool. Let's toss it off to Donovan. What's shaking in your world, brother?
Yeah, I had a great week on my show, TSR Primetime. Monday, I talked about the fact that building a harem is a full-time job. I'm sure we all get emails and, messages. Hey, Donovan, I want to sleep with 5 different girls. I want to have these, these girls in my rotation, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, we talk about the fact that it is possible. But one element that often gets left out is the fact that building a harem is a full-time job. Even building a rotation of 3 steady girls to have sex with all the time at the ready, that takes a lot of work, because girls will drop off constantly. So you're constantly having to replace girls, which means you have to go out and talk to girls. That's time consuming. So that was a very, very good episode. That was episode 319. The next 2 episodes, episodes 320 and 321, talked about how to get your wife back in line and how to save your marriage. Of course, listen, I don't believe, I think we all can agree that it's a man is running a fool's errand if he decides to get married in this day and age. But like Rollo talks about all the time, there are men out there who are awakened while married. And this particular, this set of episodes was loosely based around the 12 levels of dread red pill Reddit post. And I left out a couple of steps because a couple of steps were kind of the same. One step that I left out was step number 10, which was let your wife know It's either fuck me or fuck you. In other words, you're giving her an ultimatum. And I used to be of the mind that you should give girls ultimatums, but again, Rollo changed my mind on that. I forget the way he put it, but when you're giving a woman an ultimatum, you're coming from a position of weakness or something to that effect. You should give ultimatums with your, with your actions. So this was a very good episode set. That's episodes 320 and 321. If you're awake and while married, I would highly suggest you get over to donovansharp.com and listen and watch those. Yesterday, I didn't do a show Thursday because I went to Lincoln Financial Field to watch the Eagles' final preseason game. But yesterday, I talked about how men can win their divorce. A lot of guys think that, oh my God, my wife wants to divorce me. My life is over. Not necessarily. If you play your cards right, if you take certain measures to at least try to mitigate the damage, sometimes even prevent it, you might even win your divorce. The odds are still stacked against you. I actually referenced men getting divorced to Buster Douglas beating Mike Tyson in Tokyo, Japan, back on February 11th of 1990. Everyone knew that Buster Douglas didn't have a snowball's chance in hell, against Mike Tyson. But Mike Tyson didn't train for the fight. Okay. Number one, they didn't have the end swell compress. They were using basically a rubber glove with ice in it to keep his eye down, to keep the swelling down. Tyson wasn't ready for the fight. Douglas was. And of course, Douglas shocked the world, knocked Tyson out in the 10th. Well, the same thing could be said about divorce. If you catch your wife sleeping, because women have a false sense of security that all they have to do is go in, shed a tear or two, and they're going to get half your future and present and future earnings, are going to get the house, the kids, et cetera, et cetera. But if you plan correctly and if you plan accordingly, you can possibly win your divorce. I actually had a military veteran give me a call yesterday. It was about a 15-minute call, and he talked about how he got his alimony overturned in court. So definitely be sure to check that out on donovansharp.com. So a very, very good week on TSR Primetime.
Cool. I think we should probably dedicate a future Red Man group to divorce and how to navigate that without losing the farm to family law, because there are certain things that men can do. But we'll talk about that maybe in a future episode. Carl, what have you been up to, man?
Well, on the blog side of things, I spent most of the week working on a post that went fairly deep into game theory. Then I watched your 21 Con speech, and I read Mode 1 by Alan Roger Curry, and that kind of set up a spiral in my head. So I wrote this post that I call the Engineer's Dilemma, based on, I've done quite a bit of work consulting with startups, and most entrepreneurs come in one of two varieties. Either they're the salesman type, they have an idea for a product, they just start selling the crap out of it, and then suddenly they find themselves with a stack full of orders and no idea how to get the product delivered. And that's an easy problem to fix because, you can hire him as an accountant, you can source the production, etc. But then you have the engineer side of things, and he's much more difficult to deal with because an engineer can tinker and refine his product endlessly. He'll never get it to market because he'll just burn through all the funds on research and development. And a lot of guys do the same thing with the self-improvement in the red pill sphere, because what they end up doing is they find this flaw with themselves and they fix that, and then they find another flaw and they fix that, and they use that as a way of never actually moving forward. They end up, I think, what was the way I put it in the blog post, because I like that, they die with six-pack abs, 100 million in the bank, speaking 12 languages, having visited every country on Earth, with 24 advanced degrees, owning 4 houses, 32 cars, gaining a 2,400-pound powerlifting total, 3 top placements in bodybuilding contests.
God damn.
Having mastered 28 different skill sets, having placed in the world's strongest man twice, and having gotten laid exactly 0 times because there was no technology invented to take them from being 5'11" to 6 feet. And so that was it's one of the things I noticed also with the guys who come to the red pill. A lot of them are very engineer minded. They want to make themselves perfect before they do anything else to avoid rejection. And that's just a convenient lie, and why self-improvement is masturbation. On the more personal side, a friend of mine recommended that I do hack squats and Romanian deadlifts on my leg day as a way to get more out of the quads and the hamstrings. So I've been quietly cursing his first and second born for the last couple of days. I'm going to keep doing them, but they're not to be recommended if you like easily getting on and off the toilet.
I used to hate heavy leg day because most of my cars were standard and I could barely push the clutch in after doing legs. Anthony, what's shaking with you, man?
Sorry about that. I was muted. Shit, man. The convention's coming up. I mean, that's keeping me busy 15 hours a day. It's fucking awesome.